Hey guys, I'm back with another live broadcast. A lot of you guys have been enjoying these a lot lately, which I'm very happy to hear about because these are very special for us compared to the normal thing. This is a much more intimate type of thing in terms of getting to know me, in terms of spreading information, spreading a different kind of information, whereas a lot of my videos, whether it's the vlog series that I've been doing or the documentaries, it's very visual. A lot of the information that's being spread is visual stuff, showing people things. And as an artist, I'm much more of a visual person, so I really like that. But this is also really nice to interact with you guys live and answer your questions live, and we can expand upon things in a much greater way than just doing the typical video where I'm trying to fit within a few minutes. Now, some of these live broadcasts have gone a little bit long. Some of them have gone over 2 hours. For these starting tonight and for future ones, I'm going to try and keep them a bit shorter. So Imabel will be joining us in just a minute, I guess. But like a woman, she's always late. Always waiting. So, we've had some crazy weather here lately. I think Imabel got a bit angry at me for saying that, but every time this is a very big difference in culture. It shows the difference in culture between white American culture and culture in the Philippines, especially with females. In the United States, and I'm always telling her this, in the United States, people are so into punctuality. It's a very big thing if you're late there. It's almost like you're disrespectful to the person that you were supposed to show up with. And people do that a lot in LA, more so than most cities, because in LA, people fear, well, I can always blame it on the traffic. And so you always have that excuse. But in general, punctuality is considered such an important thing in American culture. And in the Philippines, people are expected just to kind of show up whenever. It's a much more casual type of culture, I think, in general than the United States. And of course, there's so many... is the audio good? Ronnie's saying that we're having audio problems. Let's hope this doesn't happen again. But I'll just keep going here. There's so many cultural differences between the United States and the Philippines. And this is a much more casual society, as you can see by the way people dress. But of course, partly because it's so hot here, so hot and humid here, a lot of people, even if they own shoes, which a lot of people don't own shoes, even if they do own shoes, you don't really want to wear them because it's just so hot here. You don't even want to put on shoes. But it's more relaxed. And also the United States, I find, is a much more conservative place. America still has a lot of very puritanical attitudes towards a lot of things. And the Philippines, they like to say on the outside, they're a very conservative Christian place. But in reality, compared to the United States, it's nothing. I've been to a lot of different countries, and by far the most conservative place that I've been to is the United States. No country I've been to can compare with America in terms of conservatism, especially in terms of sexuality. The rest of the world, it seems, is much more open, and it's much less of a big deal in other cultures. And the Philippines is one of those. Even though a lot of people, especially Filipinos, might get angry at a foreigner saying that publicly, because that's definitely not the image they want to convey to the rest of the world, of course. Ronnie, Corey's in the room. Thanks for joining us, Corey. And Ronnie, thank you again for coming. He says if you're late for your job, you're fired or a write-up. I don't know what they do here because I would imagine a lot of employees in the Philippines show up late for work. But I don't know quite how they handle that. But it's good to see people in the room live now. And I could go on and on about the cultural differences between the Philippines and the United States, but lately we've had some crazy weather. We just had one typhoon, which you saw like what I did in the vlog, that last vlog that I had. and it seems that there's another one on the way. The weather today is rainy, hard to go out and do some stuff. Now, I mean, it's not like flooded to my knowledge anywhere, but it's just kind of one of those very dreary, rainy days. But I don't mind days like this. Joey's in the room. Hey, Joey, thanks for joining us. He says, hey, Travis, we're not all white here in America. I know, that's why I specified the white people in America, with white people compared to people of other races. For instance, I used to have an African-American wrestling coach in college, and he would always say, show up on time and not colored people's time, which is what he called. That was his term for it, not mine. So if you don't find that politically correct, don't blame me. But because he would say, all the black guys on the team, they would show up late, and their coach was black. And he would just say, that's the way it is in black culture. They show up late. When you come to the Philippines and people say, when you complain about people being late for things, people are like, hey man, it's Filipino time. That's just part of the culture here. So but for me, punctuality for me has always been very important. So it drives me crazy when I have to wait for other people and things like that. But I'm glad that you guys are joining us in the room live. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll talk about some things. I'd like to start out by mentioning some of the videos that I have coming up to this channel. On Patreon right now, actually, we have a video I did about CDR King, which is a cheap electronics store in the Philippines. It's kind of a review of the store in general, not any specific products of theirs. It's just a general overview and review of the store. And that will be coming to YouTube. It's already on Patreon for the patrons. They get it early for supporting me. So that's up, that's coming. I was going to upload that. I was going to upload it this weekend, actually. But I have other stuff to work on. I'm working on a new vlog. Hey Billy, thanks for joining us. The last couple vlogs have been really good. It was a while since I released one in that new series, which is really just a more natural look at my life. And I try and spread some information and show you a little bit more about myself and my life, and so you guys can get to know me better. And that's what that series is about. But we had a couple of those after not having any of those come out for a while. And the last couple have been really good, I felt. We did that one which kind of covered behind the scenes of a video I was directing. Then I went and I did a photo shoot for my friend Kevin as a favor for him, because he's been loaning me his camera. Because since my burglary, I haven't even owned a camera. Still don't own a camera. But as a favor, I did a photo shoot. He needed some professional photos for something. And then we went to Lance Raimundo's press conference where he was coming out for the first time after his bad accident to show that he's recovered and well. And then after that, I did one showing what I did for the day when we had that typhoon. And it maybe wasn't what people would expect during the typhoon. I mean, I'm lucky this area wasn't hit as hard as a lot of other areas. Also, I live high up in a very secure building, and that makes a big difference. And Ronnie asks, is wrestling the only sport in North Dakota? Well, it should be. If I had my way, maybe. But even in North Dakota's had more. That's the one sport that they've had the most athletes that have done well on a national and even world level. But basketball and football are still more popular, even though we don't have local people from North Dakota getting into the NBA or the NFL generally. But we've had locals competing in local North Dakota people competing in world championships, competing in NCAA Division I championships and winning national titles, which is incredible. You don't see people excelling in basketball and football from North Dakota that way, but wrestling, even there, still doesn't get the love that those more popular sports got. But I digress. I didn't finish the part of all the videos that I'm going to have coming up. Actually, for Patron exclusives, I'm working on rolling those out. And one of the things that I'm planning on doing is a little tour of my apartment. Now, this is a studio apartment, so there's only so much I can show. But people want to know, it seems, a lot about apartments, what you can get for a certain level of money. And I feel like my apartment is basically the bare end of minimum. Not that I live in a bad place, this is my point. But my apartment's at the low end of the minimum of what you need to be comfortable as an American or someone from another country. You're not going to move to Manila, and you're not going to want to live in one of those 5,000 peso a month apartments. Those just aren't going to be livable for someone with any kind of standards of what's decent and what's comfortable, because I see a lot of people leaving some kind of crazy comments on my videos, and I'll get to that in a minute. But so that'll be coming out. I'm going to make that a Patron exclusive. Also, I want to start a new series, an Ask Me Anything series, and I plan on doing 4 videos per month. 3 of them will be Patron exclusive, so the patrons will ask me a question, and whatever they want, I'll answer that question. Doing 4 a month. 1 will be available on YouTube for everyone. 3 will be Patron-only exclusives, so that's another reason. And it's just going to be answering questions from the patrons. And the ones that are private, restricted, those are going to be ones that they can even ask me things that I might not want to talk to the general public about or broadcast to the world, but to my smaller, more intimate circle of patrons, my trusted confidants that are the patrons. I can go off on a few things that I wouldn't want everyone to know necessarily. So, are you going to join us? I guess we're going to have a guest here. And here she is.
Hi. I wasn't late to defend myself, I guess. I was preparing some stuff, and that wasn't mentioned by Travis. So, in fairness to me, I just have to say something. Hi, everyone.
Well, why don't you okay, let me finish what I was talking about the upcoming videos. And I want to do some upcoming documentaries again. I'm looking to get back to that. But someone wrote me today, actually, from Manila, that has a YouTube channel. And they said, I run a prank channel. Would you be interested in doing that? And I haven't had time yet to really check out what they do, to research them. I haven't even had time. I haven't emailed them back. And I've gotten requests to do prank videos in the past. I've always avoided that for a couple different reasons, even though I like to play jokes on friends and stuff a lot. And I like to play pranks on friends in my private life. But the prank, I've avoided that for a couple reasons. One is, personally, I don't watch prank videos, even though I know they get a lot of views on YouTube and a lot of people are really into it. And that's cool. So I don't watch them. That's one reason I've avoided them. The other reason is, a lot of the ones on YouTube, the so-called prank videos, a lot of them, they can be things that are either dangerous or they're just mean-spirited stuff. And that's not my bag, baby. That's not my thing. That's not the stuff that I want to do. So I'll have to research what they do. I actually have this idea that I guess I can share with you. As a lot of you guys know that have been watching the history of my videos, I'm very into culture, and I like to do things that the local culture is into. Well, in the Philippines, there's a lot of lady boys. So I had this idea. We were actually going to do it, but the makeup artist went back, so we don't have access to him. We were going to have me get made up in full-out drag and have me go out walk in public here in the neighborhood and capture reactions from people when they see me as a lady boy. So me experiencing life as a lady boy. And I think that could be really fun. And I think that could be entertaining for people. So that's some of what I have coming up in the future. Also, before I forget, there's a video I want to do that I've been talking to Imabel about. Personally, I'm very into psychology and self-improvement. In fact, my minor in college was psychology. My major was film, so I have my film degree, but I minored in psychology. And the reason I minored in psychology, and I've always been interested in the mental aspect of things, is being an athlete, especially being a wrestler, doing something that tough. There's so much, it's so important that you have the right mindset. A lot of how you do is determined by your mind frame going into a match or going into a competition. In fact, I trained for a little bit, briefly, at the Olympic Training Center, and they have their own mental coach, and he does hypnotism even. so they take it very seriously. But I ended up minoring in psychology, and actually a lot of my videos, they have very psychological edges to them or undertones. People that maybe don't realize that when watching them. But because I'm very interested in the psychology of things, I was going to do a video talking about Joel Osteen, the law of attraction, and Tony Robbins, and explaining what these things are, how they're different from each other, and the bottom line, is it worth it? Or are these things just fraudulent? Are they a scam? Joel Osteen, is he a complete scammer? The law of attraction, is it some weird new age thing that they sell books with the title The Secret just to con people and it's all marketing? Tony Robbins, he charges hundreds of dollars for his program, especially back in the 90s when he had those infomercials running. And you're like, geez, I'm really interested in this, but that's a lot of money. Should I shell out my money for that? So I will be answering those questions in an upcoming video here and then in the near future. And we're also going to have some cool stuff exclusive for patrons. Why don't you roll the credits, Imabel, while I take a refreshing sip of my beverage.
You know what? I'm quiet because I didn't like what Travis said earlier. I did something because I'm late.
Yeah, but I told you we were live streaming at 11. I told you that like 2 hours ago.
But I had to cook for you and stuff. So, thank you, dearest patrons.
These are the patrons that are supporting me. We've picked up a couple of new ones in the past since the last live stream. And this is one of them. Andy, who maybe you've seen some of his comments on my videos. He's a pretty frequent commenter. And now Andy, he's probably watching the replay of this. Let me say this about Andy. Like I said, I think a lot of you would know him if you saw his picture on the comments and stuff, because he always comments and he's very good about that. Andy can be a bit of a harsh dude, a bit of an instigator, but the thing about Andy is he always tells the truth. And in fact, there was a guy that he left a comment on one of my videos about the cost of living in Manila. This guy said you could live in Manila for $200 to $300 a month. And Andy basically set that guy straight. I saw the comment. I didn't respond, but I saw Andy's comment. And that's just completely ridiculous. It's kind of, I kind of want to delete comments like that because of the one that this guy left, because I try and put this good information out there from him. Some of it's opinion, and other people can have differentiating opinions from mine, and that's fine. But when people are blatantly putting out highly inaccurate information that are going to mislead people or confuse people and contradict the information I'm putting out to help people in my video, I don't want to let that stand. But I let that one stand because Andy got on the guy's case and corrected him. So thank you for that, Andy, and thank you for being a patron. I was also going to email you about something, send you a private message about something because you're a patron for $50, so you're at a higher level, and I want to email you something about that for you. But
thank you, Andy Omar.
Thank you, Andy.
And next we have, thank you,
Mark
Bringas.
Yes. And we can keep rolling through these a little quicker so we can, I'm trying to keep this broadcast a little short.
Thank you, Cynthia Zerga.
I'll just sip my beverage since I've talked so much.
Another patron, thank you so much. Also, thank you to Judo Lloyd.
He lives in San Jose, a hotbed for fighters and martial artists.
Another patron would like to say thank you to Don Moreno.
Don's a very good supporter, of course.
Oops, there you go.
And
we also have thank you to
Jim, and we have Scott. Trying to get it on camera here. Okay, Scott
Talon. Of course, we have Brian Michaluk.
It's Michuluk, I believe. Brian's awesome. Michaluk. And who's in the room live?
Yes.
Corey's here live now, joining us, and I just want to save this one for last because I want to talk about it a bit. Chris, and by his last name, you're probably wondering, is this guy related to Leonardo da Vinci? Because that's what I was wondering, and I asked him, and interesting enough, he said that he does know that his ancestors are from the same town as Da Vinci, so it's possible. And his father was a scientist, so see, maybe the recessive DNA came out. And let me know if the sound is bad for you guys. Hopefully this is working. There's a couple comments about. So Chris may be a descendant of Da Vinci, and we met him in Manila this past weekend, and that was really nice to spend some time with a patron and a supporter. And interesting about Chris is his dad was a scientist. He said he only subscribes to like 6 people, and besides me, the other channels are science channels, and he works in the financial industry, so he's a very bright guy, but he watches my videos. Excuse me. And I find that very interesting that a smart guy like this watches my videos, because I have some popular viral videos, and I know that those are going to appeal to a much broader audience, and they're very silly and lighthearted, and I'm glad that those are entertaining people. But I do a lot of videos with the intent to help people, and also videos that are trying to appeal to people that are a little bit more thoughtful. And I think the proof that he likes what I do and believes in what I do, I think it shows that I'm on the right path of trying to achieve that in terms of appealing to a more thoughtful type of person. By the way, I think that's why, like we talked about in the last live broadcast, that some people had a problem with the teaser that I had for my Burgos video, which is an exclusive on Patreon, and the link is in the description if you want to support us. But people got angry at the teaser I did, but it got a lot of views, and a lot of these people that subscribed to me that were angry about it, these are people that maybe saw one of my silly, lighthearted videos, and they subscribed off of that, and they think that that's all I am, and they think that that's all I should be. They don't want to accept that I'm an artist, and I'm a person that's thoughtful, and I didn't do it to offend people, but these people were offended. They don't want to think that I'm someone outside the box that they're putting me in, which is unfortunate, I think, because they're missing out. They need to broaden their mind. I know that those silly viral videos, hey, they're fun to watch, and I know they're going to appeal to masses, and that's part of the reason I made them, except for the ones that became hits accidentally. But there's nothing bad with what I'm doing on this channel. I do this channel to help people as best as I can, even if it's just by entertaining people and making them smile for a minute of their day. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very glad that I have patrons like this now, that I can make sure I know who to focus my time on, because there's so many people that want my time every day. I get so many emails from strangers that want advice on things, and I almost feel like they're like vampires. They want to suck the life from me and suck the blood from me and give nothing in return. They want this knowledge and information from me that cost me time and money to get, but they don't want to give anything back in return. And those people, it's easy, like, you can let those people suck the life out of you, because I always try to help them because I'm a nice guy. And, I feel like if you don't write them back, then they'll be bitter or angry. Or if you don't tell them what they want to hear, they'll be bitter and angry. But now I have the patrons that are supporting me and helping bring these videos to life for everyone. And those are the people that I can focus my time on. I can't, unfortunately, I don't have time to meet any stranger that watches my videos, but a patron like Chris, I mean, it's an honor and a privilege for me. What's on your mind?
Right.
That's what's on your mind?
Yep.
Well, what'd you think about meeting Chris?
Well,
share your thoughts.
That was a fun experience meeting Chris, and I would say, God, I don't know what to say. I just feel like I just want to listen to you, right?
Okay, well.
I'll just talk, I guess, later.
So, we've established that Chris may be a descendant of Da Vinci. He's got that DNA in his blood, possibly. I mean, at least we don't have proof that he's a descendant of Da Vinci, but we do have evidence. We have evidence in that his father's a scientist. He's very interested in science. He's a patron, which means he's a patron of the arts, and he appreciates art and wants to support art. And so we have evidence. We know his family comes from the same town, so there's reason to believe that it could very well be possible. And an interesting thing about Da Vinci, back in he was what you'd call, he's one of those famous Renaissance men. And back in those days, and especially in that area of the world, for whatever reason, guys didn't limit themselves in their thinking. He was the type of guy that would come up with some invention, some great scientific invention or technology, and then he'd go do an artistic masterpiece. He didn't say, oh, I'm an artist, or oh, I'm an inventor, I'm a scientist. He was a man that did it all, and not just did it all, was a master of it all. For whatever their thinking was, they didn't place those limits on themselves, which is a great psychology. If we could only go back in time and analyze him and study him and his brain. And the American Renaissance man, I guess you could say, other than Travis Kraft, would be Benjamin Franklin. One of those all-time greats that came and they changed the world through their thinking and their minds. And there's so much respect to those guys. I like to study those guys. And one of my favorites is Christopher Columbus, who the Philippines, I was saying, doesn't celebrate Columbus Day, but they should celebrate Columbus Day, and I'll tell you why. There would be no Philippines without Christopher Columbus. And the reason for that is, if you know history, Columbus, by the way, is my favorite explorer, the reason you would not have a Philippines is because the guy that discovered the Philippines, Ferdinand Magellan, all he was doing was continuing what Columbus started. And he's the first person to actually make it to Asia by sailing west. So, Columbus started it all in terms of that, in terms of the age of exploration. And it's something that we can still look at and be inspired by today, because Columbus, he had the gut. A lot of people, in modern society in the United States, they want to say Columbus is an evil guy, he's a bad guy, because he's also the guy that started slavery in the Americas. That is true. But we shouldn't necessarily judge him because he was a guy coming out of, Europe had just passed medieval times, so he's kind of a product of his time. And it is on record that he later regretted starting slavery. But the reason we should look at Columbus and celebrate it is because he set out to do what no one else did, and he had the guts and the courage to attempt it, even though when you think about it, it was kind of crazy. If there was no land in between Europe and Asia, they wouldn't have made it. They would have died. So it was lucky, even though he wasn't trying to discover the New World. It was a great world-changing event that happened because of his daring, his braveness, his brains to know how to navigate and survive on the seas. But they should celebrate Columbus Day in the Philippines because of that. Then you had other guys trying to continue what he did. And the main one that actually accomplished what he set out to do is Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan's the first man to man a mission going around the entire globe. Even though he didn't make it the whole way, he was, of course, killed in the Philippines. Because when he landed in the Philippines, they killed him when he tried to convert him over to Christianity. But his men then were able, after that, they sailed on to Spain. So he's credited as the first man to do that. And Ronnie's talking about they got a new TV show, Da Vinci's Demons. Yeah, I was watching that here in the Philippines, and they made him bisexual. And I asked Chris if he's a descendant of Da Vinci. And he said, well, rumors were that Da Vinci was gay, and on the TV show, they made him bisexual. So, who knows what's what? No way to say. We'll have no records on a guy that lived 500 years ago. But going back to the Columbus Day thing, so it was because of Magellan, or because of Columbus, Magellan found the Philippines, and Magellan's the one that actually made the Philippines one place. And what I mean by that is they were all separate islands before that, whereas it's like each island was kind of its own country. The people that lived on one island with the neighboring island, they didn't consider themselves the same people. To them, they were a completely different tribe, a completely different people. But then Magellan came and claimed all these islands for Spain, and then they grouped together. Then, of course, they eventually, as we have today, have a nation of the Philippines. But without Columbus, there would be no nation of the Philippines. Who knows what would have happened? They could all be separate countries to this day. There's no way to tell. But Billy's saying he thinks that we're great. He has a Filipino wife and he has an apartment in Manila. Have we ever done a video on Filipino legends such as Aswang? It might be a fun video to make. I've thought about that because Aswang videos get a lot of views on YouTube actually, but I don't know how I would do an Aswang video. I really don't. I wish I could come up with a good idea to incorporate that, but I just can't think of anything. I'm sure it would get hits if I could. If I could do it in a fun, interesting way. But Aswangs are a big topic here. If you don't know what an Aswang is, Imabel, what's an Aswang? Explain that. What kind of creature that is.
It's a witch.
But it's not just a witch. Doesn't it turn into like a bat or flying creature?
It can be like...
But the Philippines they're very superstitious, and they have a lot of local, like horror-type mythology. A lot of creatures like the White Lady, which is kind of a witch that lives in the provinces. Am I right?
Well,
what's a White Lady? That doesn't mean a lady from the United States. They're not talking about my mother.
There are different versions. Like if you say Aswang, it can be a witch. It can be a witch that can transform into a cat, and then like they usually would go to the house of like a pregnant woman because they could smell. According to stories, they could easily smell when there's a pregnant woman in a house. And then there's also another Aswang. It's like manananggal, like half of the body goes up or flies, and then the bottom part is left somewhere. And then according to stories, you could like put some, what's this? It's not garlic. Is it garlic? Yeah, garlic, I think. And if you put on it, it could die or something like that. Those are stories, but I don't really know. I haven't seen one, but some friends told me some stories that they experienced Aswang or whatever. Like they were even, I think in the old days, I don't know if it's true, but personally, I remember my grandmother telling me that when she had like the oldest child, when she was a baby, even when my mom was not born yet, they believed that there was like a witch like under the house or whatever, and that was like one reason why the baby got sick or like and eventually died. I'm not really sure. I mean, people believe that they're witches or they're aswangs. That's what we call them here. But me, I haven't seen one, and I'm not scared.
I'm not scared either.
I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna say it in the mighty name of my Jesus.
You just gotta vibrate at the right frequency as the universe, man. You gotta get in with the law of attraction. You just need to vibrate at a higher level.
That's not gonna work with aswangs.
When the aswang comes, you just gotta mentally think those positive thoughts. So you can start vibrating at the same frequency as the aswang, and there you go. You'll be safe.
No, you'll just
according to the law of attraction.
I live by faith.
So, yeah, but there is a lot of that. I wish I could think of an idea for an Aswang video. There's so many weird, superstitious stuff. And in case you don't know, Filipinos in general, there's a history in the Philippines of Filipinos being very into horror films. Like that movie, The Exorcist from the 70s. That was a hugely popular film in the Philippines. There's so many, and Filipinos have a history of making horror films themselves. I'm a film lover, as you'd expect, having a film degree, going to college for that. But I've never gotten into horror films. I'm not a believer in the supernatural. And I don't really like the ones that are just more gory. If I am going to like a horror film, it's got to be like old school, like Hitchcockian, psychological horror. or like even like an old one of the classics, like the Universal horror movies, like the old school Dracula from the 1930s, something like that.
Well, Billy, thank you for your suggestion. We can try to think of an idea on how to do that because, like what I said, there are people who can really say or tell us stories about that they exist and they experience their presence. So there, thank you, Billy, for that, and thank you for the compliment. Ronnie, you notice it? I'm not so talkative. Okay, I'm gonna be talkative now.
It's because she's not vibrating at the right frequency
No,
to
because
talk,
I
I
wasn't.
guess.
I didn't like what you did earlier. That's why I'm not just. It just made
It's
me like.
just
It just made me not in the mood anymore because I was like preparing some stuff.
I
and
get
you
so
would say those
frustrated
things.
every live stream because I'm worried that people are going to the room and it's not started. And I'm like, come on, Imabel, let's go.
I told you earlier you can
'Cause you-
start. I don't have to be in.
Yeah, but you're the
I
sidekick.
don't have to be.
It goes
to be
better
in
when
it
you're
when
here.
it
I did
starts.
this when you were out of town by myself, and it wasn't near as good of a show when I didn't have you here.
What do you
That's
think,
why I
Ronnie?
want you here. I want you here because it's much better when you're here because you're the sidekick, and I have someone to play off of. Like Johnny Carson had Ed. Jimmy Fallon has that one guy who's, I don't even know that guy's name, but he's a good sidekick. He's funny. Conan has Andy. Jay Leno, he would always do banter with the guy from the band. They had a few different guys. So, if you're going to do a show, it's not a one-man show. You need a good sidekick. It just enhances
I
it.
know, but well, yeah, sidekick, but I had to write them. I'm just there. Thank you guys for joining us.
Bradley says, people are so interested in me, including him. Just wondering about the ocean water in the Philippines. Is the water pretty clean? Is the water cool? Is it warm or cool water? I can answer that question, Bradley. It's a good question, actually. It's one of the reasons I'm afraid to eat seafood that comes from the Philippines. I'm so afraid of the water around here and how dirty it is. And I know Filipino people would hate me or say I'm being negative, but we've talked about
Not
this and
all
we've been on
fish
some.
come from those dirty oceans. You're so arte.
No, but the waters here tend to be heavily polluted, like Manila Bay. They have a lot of fishing boats and things. Like when we shot Real Time, we went in those little boats and then we went out to Manila Bay. And even in Manila Bay, there's still like dirty diapers you see floating in there or plastic and God knows what. And it's just like I'm so afraid to eat food from there. I'm afraid to even touch that water. People do go swimming from it here. How they don't die is just a testament to their awesome immune systems here. But the water, I think a lot of the waters tend to be, unfortunately, and this is something I wish that instead of getting angry at people that talk about this, I wish we could do something about it. The law of attraction, having positive thoughts is great, but in the word attraction, there's the word action. So we need to take, just having positive thoughts about wanting clean water is enough. We got to go out there and clean up the water, and that's the way to do it. So unfortunately, the water here, a lot of the water, not all oceans. I mean, there's over 7,000 islands here. So, and some parts are more populated than others. But there's a lot of polluted waters here, sorry to say. And is the water warm or cool? The water's warm. You're never going to get cold jumping in the ocean here. It's warm water. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Imabel?
I was just looking at comments. That's why I keep smiling because they're interesting.
Is there anything you'd like to elaborate on? Because I'm out of soda.
I can get some.
I'll get some.
No, I'll get some.
They were complaining that you weren't.
I'll get some. Come on. There. I'll be back.
You got to put ice in it and stuff. Anyways, Imabel seems to want to leave me here. And any other questions? I'm going to keep this a shorter broadcast. We've already went on for almost 40 minutes. Something that I would like to mention is earlier today I was on IMDb, which is not a popular site with Filipinos, but a lot of Americans love it. And I was on IMDb, and I got to looking at the reviews for Rocky IV, possibly one of my favorite films of all time. But people either loved that movie or hated it, and the people that loved it for the reasons of it's a very inspirational movie. People were very hard on the movie. A lot of people, they didn't like to accept Rocky in a more modern era. But if it were a real life guy, he would evolve and he would live in a different era. I mean, the first Rocky came out in the 1970s, but by the time Rocky IV came out, it wasn't the gritty 70s anymore. He was no longer a poor guy in Philadelphia. He was a former champion that had made it, but then he has to come out of retirement, of course, and go to Russia. And a lot of the movie has, the old movies had a orchestral soundtrack, classic orchestral music that people associate so much with Rocky, and it was so great. But for the fourth one, they did a more modern type of soundtrack. And one of the themes of the movie is Rocky goes to Russia to train and fight Drago. And one of the themes is technology, because Drago, he's all state-of-the-art. He's hooked up to monitors. He punches the thing. It shows how many pounds of pressure that he hits with and things like that. Every time he lifts something, there's like some sort of crazy digital thing going off. And it's all very scientific. But Rocky, being the classic underdog, he has to do it the hard way, and he has to overcome all that. But it deals with technology. But it seems weird that people were saying, oh, it's an 80s movie. But yeah, the movie was made at the height of the 80s. It came out in 85. So I found it crazy that their complaints were it was an 80s movie. The other complaint was it's unrealistic that those guys would be in the same weight class, or that Stallone could beat Dolph Lundgren in real life, considering the size differences. But the movie is about, and Rocky's an underdog, and he has to overcome. That's what the theme is. It wouldn't be a very exciting movie if Rocky goes and boxes a midget. He has to have an obstacle to overcome. He has to have a challenge. It's about him doing the impossible. That's the theme of the movie. And is it really that unrealistic, considering the movies today, considering all the stupid stuff out? I mean, you can see you go with Spider-Man and you see a completely CGI Spider-Man swinging through New York. How unrealistic is that? Or any of these superhero movies that seems to be the only movies out. So it seems kind of silly to me. But the people that loved it, they really appreciated the theme of the movie and found it inspirational. And that's what I love about it too. And I follow Dolph Lundgren on Facebook, other than watching his movies when they come out. I follow him on Facebook, and he likes to post a lot of old photos from the past. He posted a photo this week of him with Brandon Lee, where it was a promo shot for their movie Showdown in Little Tokyo, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And in my opinion, it's Dolph Lundgren's best movie outside of Rocky. You can't really consider Rocky IV a Dolph Lundgren film, because that was a Stallone movie all the way. But of movies where Dolph Lundgren starred in, where it's really his movie, Showdown in Little Tokyo is by far his best. Full of action, and it's actually a really great comedy, and it's one of my favorite movies. He is a classic buddy cop movie about two cops. They meet up. They don't really like each other at first, and then, by the end of the movie, it's like they're brothers. But if you haven't seen that, but he posted this photo of him with Brandon Lee, who, of course, unfortunately, is no longer alive. Who knows what kind of career he would have went on to do. Like his father, we missed out on so many good movies by these guys, unfortunately, dying. And Dolph he posted that photo, but he probably looks at these old photos, because that movie came out over 20 years ago. He probably thinks to himself, man, I was such a young guy then, and those were the days, when he was doing all this. And I've been reading this book that's in Filipino, and I'm reading it. The reason I'm reading this book, it's actually a Christian book, but I'm reading it to help me improve my language skills, and I'm reading it as a language learning experience. And the theme of this book, it's a Christian book, the theme is that you should enjoy the journey. It's not about the destination. It's all about enjoying the journey. And I think that's so true. I was just talking to Imabel earlier this week about how, I've been shooting this vlog series with this cool little Canon Vixia Mini, and I was saying I wish I had that a few years back, like when I was in LA doing my thing. I could have documented what it's like to be a young, struggling actor, going to auditions, going through the process. It would have been really interesting. I couldn't do that, of course, because, first of all, I didn't have the idea to do that. And also back then, even though I got my first video camera in 2007, even though it was a small camera, the technology back then was you had to put the tape in it, the mini DV tape, and it just wasn't as convenient as these little miniaturized cameras that they have now. The miniaturization and the technology is so advanced compared to where it was a few years ago. And me starting out acting in, say, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, whatever, they didn't have good miniaturization. I know it's not like 100 years ago, but technology has changed so much in that small amount of time. But even like when I did that shoot with Lindsay Lohan, and I was with Lindsay Lohan for 2 days, I wish I would have had a camera there capturing that. I only have really still photos from that. From that. I just wish I could have did a vlog about that and what that experience was like, because there's so many interesting things that I was doing in Los Angeles, and really back then I looked at it as it wasn't fun, it was hard times, and I just wanted to hurry up and get to the destination. But looking back on it now, I feel like, those were actually really good days. Even though it was hard, even though it was a struggle, I was young, good looking, and trying to find my way in the world, having some successes, having some failures. It was all part of the journey, and you just got to have fun with it. That's my feeling on the matter. So, but unfortunately, I wasn't documenting that aspect. I didn't start doing videos on YouTube till 2007. And my YouTube has been a journey, been an evolution. And I'm actually thinking about doing a YouTube retrospective on Facebook. My Facebook is just facebook.com/TravisCraftOfficial. And I'm thinking about doing this retrospective, I guess you could call it, where I post videos going all the way back from the first ones all the way to the ones now, to show people kind of the evolution of the channels and that kind of thing, really. Because I know a lot of people, they subscribe to me or they start following me, but they don't go back and they don't look through the library. They don't watch the old stuff. So they've missed out on some interesting stuff, or some of the classics, or just me at a little bit younger, more raw version. So what's your thoughts on that, Annabelle?
That'll be interesting. Do you want to read the comments? I think we're getting interesting comments here, so we can take a break from you talking.
The thing is, there's a bit of a delay of when I say something from where they get it. So these last comments that we're seeing, even though we talked about this a while ago, they're about Aswangs, witches, shapeshifters, that kind of thing. And then the last comment, that's from Eric Corbeza. Is that how you say his name, you think?
Yep. Or in Spanish, Eric Corbeza.
And the last comment we have is about Rocky IV, steroids in the fall of Russia, from Ronnie. The Rocky movies, to me, such classic films that hold up today. I think you could take someone, a young person, teenager or whatever, that's never seen a Rocky movie, and you could show them to them, especially if you showed them on a big screen in HD, showed a Blu-ray of them, and they would enjoy them as much as they would enjoy any movie today. So I think they would still enjoy them more than the more modern movies, the more modern style of filmmaking, and just seeing the journey that the character went on. And for me, Rocky IV is the best one of the series. That's really when it reached its zenith. I know they made 2 films after that, which were decent movies, even though Rocky V had a lot of maybe flaws in certain ways from the approach they took. But Rocky IV reached its zenith because that's when Rocky got to be the most elaborate. It started out, Rocky I was a very low budget movie and a very, gritty movie in certain ways, and it was a very simple thing. But by Rocky IV, you see him reaching his full, like at the end of the journey when he'd made it. He'd made the American dream, and now you see Rocky, who was a simple guy from Philadelphia, simple, uneducated man, a former loan shark, a former criminal, really, even though he was a good-hearted person that didn't want to do it. Now he's made it. He's made it legitimately from living in America, and through his own hard work, he accomplished it. And now you see Rocky, the simple character, and now he's thrust into this world of, he drives a Ferrari, he's giving his brother-in-law a robot as a birthday present, and he's going to Apollo's exhibition fight where the opening act is James Brown singing "Living in America," which is a classic tune. I feel good. That's my James Brown. So to me, that's the best one. Like, Amabel, what are you thinking about that?
I like the character.
So I think the Rocky movies are the best movies ever made, in my opinion. Greatest films of all time. We're blessed to have 6 films in the series, especially those first 4. Like, it seemed like every movie was getting better and better. And Rocky 3, it seemed like, was the pinnacle. When it couldn't get any better for a Rocky film. Rocky 1 was great, won the Oscar for Best Picture, but Rocky 2 was even better than Rocky 1. And then Rocky 3, it's like, oh my God, how could a movie get any better than this? And then they came out with Rocky 4, where it's like on a whole another epic scale. That's my thoughts. Amabel doesn't seem impressed with what I'm talking about. I don't know that she's seen the movies all the way through, though.
I haven't seen all of the Rocky movies, but I liked whatever I saw. And I guess growing up, Rocky, Rambo, everything that Arnold and Sylvester did, they're always a hit, especially in the province where I grew up. And we didn't have cable that time and stuff, so it was all movies. But we couldn't really watch, the movie right away. Like, as soon as it's available in Manila, it's not available to us right away.
Go ahead, talk.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry if I haven't been talking too much. I actually have a little bit of cold, just like Travis, and my head is aching. But I just still want to join Travis and to support him, of course. I'm here. And Ronnie, that's a good observation you have. Thank you for... Ronnie actually emailed me earlier on Facebook asking if there'll be a live stream. And here, there's a live stream. And thank you for joining us, as well as to everyone else in the room. Before Travis comes back, let me just send a shout out to all of you. Ronnie Rodriguez, Eric Corbeza. Hi, thank you guys. Also, too, I'm looking at the comment section, seeing the names. Billy Plourd or Plourd. Just let me know if I pronounce it right or wrong. Also, hello to Bradley B. To who else? There you go. I guess I already mentioned all your names. And Corey, of course. Corey, I'm not going to pronounce the last name because I might not
Russo.
be able. Russo. I think I did it.
I don't know if he's still in the room. Are you in the room, Corey?
Yeah. Joey.
I don't know if
Galon.
Joey's still in the room.
Yeah.
Some of these people had to go work.
I know.
But Ronnie's still with us at least.
And Corbeza, thank you so much for sharing that information about Aswang. Let me just read it completely. And Aswang is a vampire, witch, ghoul, shapeshifter, hybrid. LOL. There are also many kinds of Aswang. Manananggal, tik-tik, boo-boo, balbal, etc. It really depends on the province. You're so good, ah. I just hear this from stories, and like what I said earlier, I haven't really experienced any. I wouldn't want to experience Aswang in real life, or else I'm gonna fight the Aswang with my power. No, power coming from God, of course.
Power coming from vibrating at the right frequency as the universe. That's what The Secret says, that book, The Secret.
Well, obviously.
And like I said, I'm going to be coming out with a video where I talk about these things and whether they're fraudulent. But in the meantime, if you want to vibrate at the right frequency, Well, you'll just have to wait for the video, I guess. But it should be soon. And like I said, soon, I was going to upload that CDR King to the main YouTube channel, because right now it's an exclusive. The patrons get it first. But I think it's going to take another week for that to come out to the general audience. And
I just remembered, I think you said something earlier. We have this Patreon campaign, and we're really thankful for all the patrons who have already pledged for their support. And you guys can still be one of our patrons. You simply go to this. It's on the link, I guess, but here it is. Patreon.com/craft. There. It's in there. And like what Travis said earlier, if you just joined us, this Patreon campaign is really helpful, not for us, but for all the viewers of the YouTube channel. And this helps us keep making videos that will keep entertaining, informing, and inspiring the viewers, you guys, in our way, simple or special ways, whatever. And then, of course, we couldn't, like Travis mentioned this earlier, he gets a lot of emails every day asking for travel tips, advice, even personal questions, like any kind of advice for their life or whatever. And we would love to get back to all of those emails, but we couldn't do that because we also have to spend our time for other things. And for us to be able to devote our time, to spend our time for making videos, more videos for you guys, that means we won't be able to do other things that would really be income generating for us. But because we love you guys and we love entertaining you, and we are it's so heartwarming to hear all your like great feedback and all these things that we hear from you. We want to keep doing this. So I hope you can be part of our Patreon campaign, and we really thank you all for that.
now you know why I need her here. Because without her, I'm lost. I'm lost without you.
Yeah, anyways. Guys, no, I don't know what to say.
She's such a big part of this channel.
Such a luck, because maybe we have like new comments.
Annabelle's such a big part of this channel. And we had such a great day today, didn't we? Even though it's been rainy. We really, for you and me personally, that we won't get into everything. We vibrated at a high frequency today. Would you say so?
I don't really say vibrating, whatever. I say, let's just share love, 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 because God is love, and that's how we love.
But we're going to cut this off soon, but Ronnie live in the room says, Emma seems like she likes chick flicks. Well, she's a chick, so yeah, she does. I remember she made me see that Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock movie, The Lake House. I don't want to trash other people's art, man, but it's awful. Don't do it, man. Don't watch The Lake House, whatever you do. For the love of God, man, do not see The Lake House. She made me go to that with her.
Actually, I watched the movie because I got a free ticket.
We saw it for free.
Yeah, for the premiere showing. So I let him watch it with me, so he didn't have a choice. There are other better movies than that. For sure.
I don't think she liked it. It wasn't a good flick by any. Even as far as chick flicks go, it wasn't one of the better ones. But that always stands out in my mind. How you made me go to the Lake House when you got free passes to the premiere.
I know.
And I'm like, oh man, this movie looks terrible. And it was so much worse than what I expected even.
Well, thank you for
They were showing it
me.
on TV actually today.
Really?
Maybe that's our special movie, even though it's a terrible movie. Who knows?
And that was in 2006.
It's 2006.
Yeah.
And Ronnie also asks, when I heard a lot of Filipinos like Kenny Rogers, yeah, Kenny Rogers is the man in the Philippines. I don't know if he's ever performed here. I'm guessing that he has.
Maybe.
But
I'm not sure. I have to check.
I think most people, this Kenny Rogers is popular in the Philippines, but it's not what you think. It's not necessarily as a singer. He's popular because he has a popular chain of restaurants in the Philippines. And to my knowledge, they don't have any Kenny Rogers restaurants currently in the United States. They all closed down, however many they had. I don't think they ever had that many. I know they used to have one in Hollywood. And Seinfeld actually had an episode where Kenny Rogers opens a restaurant across the street from Kramer's apartment. The neon sign drives Kramer crazy. But to my knowledge, they all shut down within the United States. But in the Philippines, Kenny Rogers Roasters, that's the name of the restaurant, is going strong. It's alive and well. I haven't eaten there in many years. I used to eat there all the time.
Yeah, like almost every day.
Yeah, but
just like Taco Bell.
Their prices really went up at Kenny Rogers, so that was very disappointing. They also used to have, they were one of the few restaurants that had refillable drinks, bottomless as they call them here. And they ended that some time ago, and their prices went up, so I just kind of got turned off to them. But Kenny Rogers is a guy I don't know a ton about, but I know he's probably had a very interesting life, being a performer, being an entertainer. Hey, I'm an entertainer too, so we have that in common. I'd love to sit down and spend an evening with Kenny Rogers or have dinner with him and chat with him, even if I'm not a fan of country music. I saw him on Anderson Cooper like a year or two ago, and he was talking about smoking weed before doing one of his concerts. And it's stories like that that I would like to get. I'd like to get inside that psychology, that mindset of a guy that's a successful, popular entertainer and just find out what they're all about, really. What about you? You like Kenny Rogers and Mabel?
Not really, but it's not like...
You don't know any of his music,
No, I mean, I know, but I'm not just a fan. I don't hate his music, but I'm not just a fan. Ronnie, I remembered you said something about Galinda getting sick. I'm sorry to hear that. Please tell Galinda get well soon. And the weather here has really been crazy. We even have cold, so...
I wouldn't say it's crazy. It's typical. It's part of life. There's a wise man once said, there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only different kinds of good weather. And I believe that. Today, it's been raining all day, but it's been nice for you and me personally, which I'm not talking about that aspect, all aspects of our personal life or all aspects of my personal life. But you and I had some nice time alone bonding, which we haven't had in a while because we've had guests and we've been so busy with various things. We haven't had time where we could just step back for a minute. Even today I was supposed to edit a new vlog. Like I have some footage with Patron Chris, and I wasn't feeling it, so today we got to spend a little bit of quality time with each other that we haven't really been able to spend with each other. What do you think?
That's very important in any relationship. You got to find time for each other. Even when you get so busy, you still have to be there for each other and just have some quality time.
You know, I don't want to flaunt a lot of aspects of my personal life or even certain aspects of personal things about me. Some things are private, but I don't know where I'm going with this, I guess. Finally, I'm at a loss for words. But
Well, go ahead.
I just want to say, and I'm willing to say this publicly on record, I enjoyed spending the day with you so much. I think today was kind of the best time that we've had in a long time because we're so distracted with various things. I know you're on your phone all the time. I'm on my computer all the time. Or we have other people around us a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. We don't, in a way, we don't spend that much time just one-on-one with no gadgets, no distractions. Mm-hmm. We don't do that much lately. But today,
we made it.
Nice.
Yeah. Billy asked, what province did you grow up? I grew up in Samar, particularly in Cavite City, Samar. That's in the Visayas.
Billy also says here, he has an interesting copy. Have you read Field Theory? It ties into the law of attraction, just a suggestion. I've actually not heard of that, Billy, but this field theory that you speak about, after this broadcast, I'm going to probably eat a hamburger, drink a little bit more soda, turn on the TV, lay down, go to bed. But this field theory, I will be sure to look up tomorrow because I'm interested. I'd like to see how it relates to the law of attraction. By the way, there's different. I'm talking about vibrating and the frequency with the universe. There's different schools of thought on, and I'll get into this deeper on the actual video I do. There's different schools of thought on the law of attraction. There's one school of thought that views it as a metaphysical, kind of spiritual level, almost like a religion, where your thoughts send out a vibration, and they have to vibrate with the right frequency to get what you want. If you're vibrating at the frequency to get what you don't want, well, then you're going to get what you don't want. And it's done through your thoughts. So you're supposed to always have positive thoughts. But that's there's a very spiritual approach that the universe is going to will things towards your way. And there's that belief. And then there's the other school of thought on law of attraction, where it's just a more practical thing, where you think about things, and then that causes you to take actions that work towards that goal or work towards getting what you got. And it's a more practical thing. It's not some sort of spiritual or religious thing. It's a very nuts and bolts practical thing. And I'm going to mention those in the videos that I do. But this field theory, I will check out what you're looking about, because I'm trying to do some research right now to prepare for this video. And even Tony Robbins, I want to talk about him, but I haven't really listened to him in many years. I should kind of refresh myself a little bit on what exactly he talks about and what he's about, because he's very different than the law of attraction and very different than Joel Osteen, even though it seems like these things are all kind of lumped together. And people like to lump them together as motivational speakers, which Tony Robbins actually isn't necessarily a motivational speaker, but I'll get into the details of that more in depth in the actual video.
Can I share something?
Yes.
That's what he always shares, and like what I always tell him. There are things that we may not really. I mean, I'm fine with what he talks about, law of attraction. But what I tell him, for those who might be able to relate with me, it's actually simple, because just like.
Can I get a refill of soda?
Go ahead. Just like what the Bible says, like God's word, the tongue, our tongue is the power of life and death. So anything that we say, anything that comes out of our mouth, we have to be extra careful with what we speak. So if we keep saying, oh, my life is just like this, I always have problems, I'm always sick, and always this and that, you're always negative. So, it's really very possible, it's a big possibility that your life will just be like that, because you don't even look at the brighter side. And of course, how can you look at the brighter side? How will you be able to stay hopeful even if the things or the circumstances you're facing don't seem to give you hope? Well, another promise that God gave us, just one of his promises, is my plans for you and me are plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. That's only one of the very many great promises God has for you and me. So knowing that promise, despite what we go through in life, every day there may be problems, tough times, rough roads. There's always a reason to be positive, to be thankful, and to smile, and to look forward to the better things that are gonna come. So that's just what I always tell Travis, and I just felt like sharing it with you now as well. I don't expect you guys to agree with me or whatever, but I just felt like I wanted to share that with you, because like what I tell him, I couldn't help but share with people something that I have experienced. Like, if you experience something good, why couldn't you, or why wouldn't you share that thing with others so they can also experience the same thing? or if they're going through something and you've been through that before, you can share your testimony so that you can give hope to that person, you can inspire that person. Anyways, he's back.
Okay, let me say this since you talked about that. I've had 2 rules for this channel. And the 2 rules are you never talk about politics and you never talk about religion. And the reason I had those 2 rules is I want to bring happiness to people and I want to unite people. And those things are very divisive, yet you insist on talking about your devout religious beliefs. Whereas I don't like to talk about those for me. I don't want to divide people. I don't want to separate people.
I don't think that would separate people. I mean, how would people be separated just to know that you're loved? You know that you love, someone loves you. You get unconditional love from God. And
but look, let me say my piece now. And it's that, look, whatever religion you guys are, I do not care one way or another. I care about you regardless, especially if you're going to spend this time with me to watch a live broadcast with me or watch my videos. I care about you. What religion you are or what personal beliefs you are. You can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian, you can be Jewish, you can be an atheist. You know, I care about you the same way. It's all cool. We all have our own personal beliefs. And I'm not going to tell you guys what you should believe in terms of that. And politics is kind of the same thing. In the United States, there's Democrats and Republicans. I want to be friends with Democrats and Republicans both. I want to, find common ground and enjoy the company of someone, whether they're a Democrat and Republican. Now, I know, even though those are my rules, don't discuss politics, don't discuss religion. I've kind of bent those rules a few times. For instance, if you see my video talking about Mitt Romney and him stating his views on medical marijuana, that was maybe bending it a little bit. That was also, by the way, possibly my most misinterpreted video I've ever done. I guess the message was too confusing behind that. Basically, I wanted to say I'm in favor of people in the United States having the right to choose whatever medical treatment that they want. But I also didn't want to endorse drugs by any means. I didn't want to endorse drug use. So the message ended up confusing. Also, I've covered religion a lot in certain aspects. But the thing is, I'm taking a look at it from a cultural perspective. I'm not endorsing any of these religions. Like if you take a look at my video on Buddhism, we're just taking a look at it from a cultural perspective because I'm very into cultural things and learning about other cultures, other types of people, trying to have a broader perspective on things. So that's the approach there. I'm not telling people they should become Buddhists. I'm not telling, we went to a Muslim mosque. I'm not telling people they should become Muslim.
A mosque is a Muslim church.
That's why I said we went to Muslim mosques.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know you think it's redundant, but it makes sense what I'm saying. Trust me. Anyways, we went to Muslim mosques. Obviously a mosque is Muslim. We went to mosques, and it's not that I'm trying to say that people should become Muslims or get people sympathy towards Muslims. It's just showing what these people do a little bit, showing a slice of life from another part of the world that a lot of people don't get a chance to see. That's all it is. Even my video, that's an exclusive for Patreon, the Burgos video, which, by the way, I'm going to probably release some exclusive clips or footage that aren't in the actual video. It's just showing a slice of life from another area, from a cultural perspective. That's all it is.
Here's the thing. That's what we want to impart to the viewers. The thing is, people, regardless of your good, pure intention, would still have their negative comments or, critical comments or criticism. And I think they say those, they write those because they already have that negative mindset in them.
They're not vibrating at the right frequency.
And speaking of that vibrating, right?
They don't have the positive thinking.
Let me say something. I forgot something. You know what? When I shared what I shared a while ago. I wasn't trying to divide the people. I wasn't trying to force to force my faith on people. I was just sharing something. And like what I
I know
said,
that. I know
if,
that.
if you experience something good, something great, why don't you share with others? But of course, it's up to the people to decide. We have free will. It's just I'm doing my part to share something really good because I know it's good.
You know, what you guys don't see off camera sometimes, especially after these live broadcasts, that I talk to Imabel about, I say, Imabel, I want you to keep in mind the rules of this channel, no religion, no politics, and that religious stuff you're really making known. By the way, people always speculate on my religious beliefs or my religious background, and I've never spoken on it publicly. And that's the way I intend to keep it. Maybe for patrons only, I can speak in depth on my religious background because I won't say what it is publicly, but because I don't want people to there's speculation on what my religion is. Like on the internet, I've seen stuff talking about what religion I am. And some people are very wrong on the matter. Some people are right on the matter. But I don't talk about it publicly. Maybe for the patrons I will, because I do have a religious background. I just won't say what particular religion that is. But maybe for the patrons I will, and I'll go in depth because I'm going to be releasing some patron-only videos where I give some things that I wouldn't necessarily talk about with the general world, as I said before. So maybe I'll go into that. I have some maybe interesting things to say on my religious background, things that will maybe help other people coming from that perspective. Because off camera, I've talked to you about a lot of my religious background, and I'm also a very scientific person, and you know that. That's no secret about me.
You can faith and science can there's always it's possible for both to meet anyways. Let
I
me
just
see.
wanted to put it out there that I don't care
Yeah,
what religion these guys
well,
are.
definitely as
I love people of all different races,
yeah.
religions.
What's important?
It's all good with
Here's
me,
the
man.
thing: it's not really about religion. You don't promote religion. You promote spreading love. And for me, it's not religion. It's a personal relationship with God, and that's just so awesome. Anyways, there's a comment from Kenny Rains. He said, "Keep up the great vibes on the Philippines. I can't wait to retire there." Thank you, Kenny Rains. You. And then who else? Should we scroll up?
We're Batman and Robin, and we wouldn't have. Ronnie says we're like Batman and Robin,
Oh, yeah.
and Da Vinci did the draw. By the way, going back to Da Vinci, and I brought this up to patron Chris about we would not have Batman without Da Vinci because Da Vinci did that drawing of like a hang glider, and it was in the design of bat wings. And that's one of the influences of the creator of Batman that he looked at when he created Batman. So we probably wouldn't have Batman without Leonardo da Vinci, which shows you that you can affect people's lives from any time. Maybe you don't affect someone's life right now, but 500 years in the future, someone does something gain inspiration from you. Like Da Vinci doing that drawing of the bat wings that Bob Kane saw in the 1930s when he was creating Batman. And they created Batman. And Batman's made millions